What's going on, sports fans? Welcome to Fire for Effect Live. What the hell's the date today? 9 February? Jesus, man. 9 February already. My name is Chris. Tonight on the show, we're going to talk about the media, MDMA, which is not methylene deoxy, methamphetamine, or whatever the fuck that means. I'm going to talk about the media. We're going to talk about media misinformation, disinformation, manipulation, and what we perceive as their accountabilities. We do have a guest with us tonight. I found one that was willing to talk openly. He's a good guy. I'll introduce him later on. Before we do that, I want to cover some sponsorship. Fire for Effect and Fire for Effect Live are brought to you by DeanBlundell.com. Go to DeanBlundell.com, Canada's largest digital source for news, sports, and podcasts. If you want to hear about the closest thing to opinionated reality versus what the fuck you've been fed, which is the topic of tonight, go to DeanBlundell.com. Also brought to you by my man, Positive Mike. Positive Mike's Brewing Company. You can get the gear, but you can't get the beer yet. He's still working on it. His beer is amazing. I'm actually going to use some of his beer this week. I think I'm going to do a shepherd's pie, or a cottage pie, if you will, because if I don't use lamb, it's technically not a shepherd's pie. Jennifer, Tara's in the house. Thank you for joining me, ladies. Where was I? Oh, yeah, Positive Mike's Brewing Company. So I'm running on my own board again, so it takes a bit of work. Also brought to you by my main man and one of my olive drab hooligans, Mr. Hooper Inc. Go to Mr. Hooper Inc. Check him out on Instagram and or Twitter. He's probably on that shitty fucking thing called Facebook too. If you want to learn about alternative medicine, cannabis, and psychedelics, i.e. mushrooms, which someday should be legal, you can get all that information at Mr. Hooper Inc. He also runs clinics and can advise and guide you on those types of things. And he's more than willing to talk about that. And he's going to set up his own podcast. And I'm going to produce the fucking thing. So you should totally check it out. Last but not least, my favorite producers of Wagyu crossed beef. Lakeside Farmstead, Jeff None and his family, locally owned and operated just north of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. They have dairy products and they have Wagyu X. You can buy their products locally in stores in an Edmonton area, or you might be able to get them online. So check them out. Okay, before I bring the boys in, I don't know where Glassy is. Give me a second here. This is called an administrative pause. He could be fucking lost. Oh, wait. No, he's still fucking around. Okay, I have a bit of a rant today. I'm going to go back to the chat thing here. If you are becoming unemployed in Canada, pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. So, the end of July in 2021, so last summer, I finished my last contract with my employer at the time, who I worked with for a few years. COVID fucked everything up. Everybody understands that and gets that. No problem. My initial plan was to take a month off. I decided, because I wanted to get this going, everything you see behind me, all the episodes of Fire for Effect, get it all going. And I was financially positioned to do it and needed a bit of a mental break. I decided I was going to take 6 months off. That being said, there's a thing called employment insurance. Keyword being insurance. I've never claimed EI before. I've never needed to. I've always been employed my whole fucking life. So, in October, I made a trip to Europe, to see some friends of mine and go to a party. It's a long story, save for another day. I filled out the EI reporting thing properly, and I got flagged, if you will, meaning if you don't fill it out on the normal standard, it goes to what's called adjudication. Now, what I found out today, after not receiving any EI benefits for 3.5 months, finally got through to a lovely young lady. She was very kind and polite. I can't complain about her. That they are backlogged. The EI system is backlogged 2 to 3 months. I'm fortunate. I produce enough empties to take back to the fucking bottle depot to pay for my rent, my mortgage, my bills, everything. Okay, I'm lucky. Your average Canadian, 500,000 people approximately, according to the young lady on the phone today, are on EI. So if you don't fill out that form the normal way or the standard way they expect, it goes to something called adjudication. So if you leave the country for whatever reason, they ask you a question. If you take some training to benefit and better your life, they ask you some questions. That all goes to what's called adjudication. The adjudication process is backed up 2 to 3 months. Now, again, I'm lucky. I can get by without the EI fucking premiums, you know. Now understand something else here. This is not free money. I fucking paid into this since 1988 when I started work. Well, real work. Up till then, I was doing criminal work. But anyways, 1988 to 2021, I've paid into EI. That is my fucking money. It's not their money. It's not Trudeau's money. It's my money. And what happens is the minute there's not a flag, if you will, and how you answer the reporting period, they stop paying you until it's answered. And they're backlogged 3 months. So I feel sorry for anybody that actually needs EI to pay the fucking rent to put food on the table for their family. So here's my advice to you. Should you become unemployed in the near future, fucking lie to the government and don't feel bad about it because they've been lying to you for fucking years. Don't feel bad about it. They ask you a series of questions on the reporting period. They are all no's and there is one yes. Figure it out or you are fucked. You will not see any EI benefits for a while. So there's my fucking rant. I'm going to see what everybody's saying. I'm going to bring in the boys. First of all, I'm just bring them in order here. Okay, I have to click another button. There we go. Come on. I can edit this out later. Why are you not showing up, Bryce?
I don't know. You got yourself full screen, maybe?
This is fucking bizarre. It's never happened before.
Yeah.
Everyone bear with me. Oh, I'm on full screen. Yeah. Okay. Before I post this shit to fucking iTunes or Spotify, I'll edit that text out. Anyway, with me is my normal olive drab hooligans, Mr. Bryce Hooper, who's rocking some funky ass hair right now.
Fuck yeah.
He'll explain that later. The Blue Rocketeer, Morgan Warren, and we're waiting for our special guest, Glassy. So welcome to Fire for Effect Live 9 Fab. Thanks for joining me tonight. Don't mind the shit show and the technical indifferences. I've covered all my bullshit. Jen's laughing at me. That's fine. Positive Mike. What's he have to say? He's always got some whimsical shit today. But beer for the we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Chili. Nah, I'm not doing chili yet. Chili. Well, actually, you know what? I might do a chili for Super Bowl. Do you guys have Super Bowl picks? You guys don't even watch fucking sports.
No, too organized.
Yeah, I don't do. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly we're not talking about Super Bowl.
But I'll come over from some sort of chili.
You know
with
what,
that
though?
habanero
I'll tell you this much. All of my picks leading up to this have been fucking wrong. Neither of my teams are in it. And now I'm down to 2 teams, the LA Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals, neither of which I give a shit about. So it's basically whose uniform do I like best? That's who I'm fucking picking. So, and to be honest, I'm going to go with Cincinnati. So you should probably be betting against me. So while I solve some technical issues, I need to understand your fucking hair, Bryce. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you and looking in the chats. No, Jennifer, I'm not in a bed. I'm actually I told everybody that I was going to pull off that bathtub podcast because Morgan is sitting on his Blue Rocketeer, right? So I'm actually live from a bathtub in the studio that I've borrowed out. So, but going back to my hair, I have been doing volunteer security with the Hair Massacre for several years now, and it's an organization charity and not-for-profit that raises money towards Make-A-Wish Foundation for children in Alberta. And part of those proceeds go towards the Terry Fox Foundation for cancer research as well.
Shout out.
Yeah, so there's a huge event on February 25th at West Edmonton Mall. But if everybody finds any of my social medias, from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram, I have a link in my profile bio. And my goal is to raise $1,000 with the barber who did my hair. Sia did an amazing job. I've got a big chunk in the back as well as the big top on this side here, blended in. And I'm going to be doing some more funky styles right up until the event. And depending on how much money we actually raise, I may entertain shaving my head or making it go much shorter if need be.
You're a better man than me because there's no scenario where I'm fucking coloring my hair that way.
Hey, I'm raising money for kids, right? I'll do
which
just
is
about
a good
anything.
thing. Actually, I would do it like
Yeah.
other than the fact that I have a job again, so I can't show up looking, a little bit off.
Yeah.
But
We'll work
that's
on your
awesome, man.
benefits.
That's really good. So we're gonna plug that after. I'm gonna add that into the descriptor before I put it on YouTube. No, we're on YouTube. Well, okay. Have another beer. I think I will. All right. Well, a lot of fucking shit going on. We're waiting patiently for Glassy, but I'm not going to wait too long. Timings. Let's see who's on the chat. So I have the country's very polarized right now, and we're polarized based on which side of any given political line that you stand on. And I kind of got this bug up my ass about media, be it social media, which is pure cancer. We can talk about that. But we're going to get into, mainstream media and how dangerous it can actually be. So my first experience with the media, I'm going to go way back in time here. So if you're young, fucking bear with me. 1992, I was coming back from Lahr, Germany to Cyprus. I was on the UNFICIP mission at the time. And there was a bunch of media guys on the plane. And what I thought was off the record, because I was too fucking stupid to know that nothing's off the record with media guys, was not off the record. So what happened was the guy said, so it's 1992, understand where else we were in 1992. We were in Croatia. We were in Sarajevo, and things were fucking hot and heavy. And he asked me what I thought about the mission in Cyprus. And this is on board the C-130 Hercules, which is a 6-hour, 8-hour flight, whatever it is, from Lahr to Larnaca, which is the airport in Cyprus. And I just said, I felt that the mission in Cyprus was winding down. This is words to that effect, because we're going back like more than 5 years. And words to the effect of felt that the mission in Cyprus, was drawing to an end, and that our resources could be better used on the kickoff in what the fuck was going on in Yugoslavia. Didn't think anything of it. Now, there's no internet back then. Okay, it's 92, September 92. There was no cell phones, none of that shit. There's no Twitter, there's no fucking news feeds, there's nothing. There's actual physical newspapers. And how we got our news over there on that deployment was the rear party in Shiloh would literally mail us newspapers. So it's about 2 weeks later, I get hauled into the fucking BSM's office, Sergeant Major's office, and there's this newspaper, and it's folded open. There's a picture of me, 21 years old, all squint-eyed and confused. And the caption says, what rank was I back then? Doesn't matter. Chris DeLuis thinks that the mission in Cyprus is a waste of time. Words to that effect, right? Like, oh my fucking God, man. So I'm getting shit on by my chain of command because the media picks and chooses sound bites to tell the story that it wants to tell. And I lost my shit. I'm like, that's not what I fucking said. That's not what I meant, blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing a bunch of backpedaling. So I want to ask you guys before we dive into the heated content. And if anybody's reading this, I don't know how to do those fucking sexy polls that Dean does. If you have shitty media experiences, please feel free to put them up. Yes, my ex-wife was 12 in 1992. Yeah. So Bryce, do you have any fucked up media experiences where? Okay, let me put it to you another way.
Yeah.
I'll give you two options where either you were involved in the media or you read something in the paper or heard something on the news that you directly knew was not fucking accurate. Where you're going, I was there, or where that's not what happened. Where the fuck did they get that shit from?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I did almost a dozen years on an Air Force base. So the politics involved in the telephone game became a normal thing, I guess. I guess it's always good to check your sources is the biggest one. And it doesn't matter if it's from the Globe and Mail or where it is, depending on who the actual writer is of that article, it can vary from that point too. So when it comes to an experience, not off the top of my head, I would imagine there has been more than once. I know when we were on my last tour in 2008, 2009, there was a guy that was quoted in his hometown newspaper. He was an augmentee like myself, and he came on and said that we had no days off as NSC platoon, as truck drivers, the whole 6 to 9 months that we were there. But in fact, we had rotating days off I think it was every 10 to 14 days. So that way the guys didn't burn out. Can't hear you.
Of course you can't. My fucking shit was muted. I'm trying to follow my own rules. Everybody I know in the military has some story where something happened and they're like, that's not what fucking happened. Morgan, what do you got, man?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything like that. Believe it or not, I've actually I've had quite a bit of experience with the mainstream media during my time in the Army. I mean, most recently, the last 3 or 4 years, I was on like live CBC with Harry Forstall in New Brunswick. I've been on TVO with Steve Pank on what's his program? I can't remember now. Anyway, so I'm very wary of the mainstream media. I'm very wary of media in general for all the reasons that you've already stated. And I think maybe this is an infantry specific thing, but I mean, I was brought up by a lot of old 2 Commando guys, airborne regiment guys. And it was like the unwritten rule was like, it doesn't matter where you go, you will never have a camera and you will never speak to media. I mean, because those boys, they felt like that they were. I mean, what happened in Somalia? Obviously, it was horrible. I'm not going to defend that. But what I'm saying is that it ended up with the disbandment of a regiment. That's debatable whether that was an effective way to deal with that problem. Me personally, I don't think disbanding a regiment got rid of a problem. You're just going to take some problem children and spread them all over the place. But
Yeah.
but so these guys, they truly believe that the mainstream media kind of did them dirty, and I tend to agree with them. And because of that, I was raised in a culture of never ever trust the media. If the media is there, go away from them. Don't take pictures, don't share pictures, don't talk about anything.
No, absolutely. And I remember, if for anybody that's watching or listening tomorrow or later, whatever, we're handed media cards on how to answer questions.
Yeah.
Because they stick handle us, especially military stuff, especially when it's combat operations, they stick handle it. Like when something happens overseas or domestically that is sensitive of nature, we go into something called a comms lockdown. Excuse me, I can edit that out. Comms lockdown is effectively nobody's allowed to go on their cell phone, get on the phone, whatever, wherever you are, and talk about what happened. This is particularly used during Canadian casualties in Afghanistan to allow, you know, the chain of command and the government to inform the family that there's been a casualty overseas. So right away, if you're in a situation like that, it's implied that you cannot trust the media. And I'm not saying you can't trust the media. Joining us now, I'll come back to this. It's just a matter of safeguards. So with us now is my man, Glassy. Thanks for coming in, brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I'm running my own board. Bear with me. So Glassy is he's a radio guy. He's got a media background, which is why I wanted him on here. Mm-hmm. He's also the producer of the Tripping with Bonzi podcast. So he's going to jump off early to, assuming Bonzi's not in fucking jail because he's in a lot of shit down in Nicaragua. Yeah. Why wouldn't he be?
He is, man. Like, that guy just finds it. I don't know, man. Like, I don't get it, but whatever. It's Bonzi. It's who he is, and that's what it is.
You can find Glassy on Twitter at Sean GL. Mm-hmm. He's also on. You're on Instagram, but it doesn't look like it's your thing, and I'm assuming you're on that shitty thing called Facebook.
I've slowly distanced myself away from Facebook. Instagram, I don't know. I don't really find the flavor in it, if you will. I like Twitter. Twitter's good. It's more of a direct line of communication to everybody, and it's more real. And yeah, Twitter is something that I've always said is Facebook without the bullshit, and that's why I agree. I like that. So
Glassy, just for everybody that doesn't know you, and most of the people watching this also watch Dean's show, watch Bonzi's show. Just give them your background, and then I'm going to kind of nail you with a couple questions.
Sure. I've been in broadcasting since I'm 42 now, since I was 16, 17 years old, working on the satellite trucks for something like UTV back in the day, which was Can West, which then became Global, which became bought out by Chorus. I've been in radio for the last, 8 years, 10 years, I guess, because I never wanted to. I always wanted to be in front of the camera as opposed to behind. And my journalistic career took me from behind the camera into interviewing people face to face, right? Doing the interviews. And I was catching what you were saying earlier is about mainstream media. I always approached it when talking to a service member, talking to anybody for that matter. I never strayed away from what I wanted to ask, and they knew that going in. And if they could answer it, great. If they couldn't, well, I'm not going to find a sneaky back door to go do that. I never did that. Every person that I have interviewed, and I've done children's things for MCFD, which is Ministry of Children Developmental and Families, like welfare and all that, social assistance. I've never ever stepped beyond my own journalistic standards, and that's trying to find the truth, but I'm not going to beat them up as a result of that, So,
okay. So let me ask you this. When you're doing radio, you have to read the news, right?
Yep.
Were you ever in a situation where you're reading the news and in your mind you're going, that's not fucking right? And maybe you weren't. Like, I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question.
I wouldn't say that. I produce my own scripts, but again, I wrote my own scripts with what I wanted to, or what my intent and goal and purpose. I would never shit on anybody. And a lot of mainstream media, I have friends who are mayor, like a mayor here in Chilliwack, friends who are former mayors. I had a job to do, and they understood that, and I never took them down in a dirty way to get something that I wanted. I never did that. And a former mayor just gave me a job reference, which was cool. Like,
congratulations, man!
Hey, I know I'm employable.
You're making
again.
money, right on.
Exactly.
Right
Thank
on.
you, guys. Yep. So, but I've never had an editor or a program director, a news director ever come down and say, you can't say that, blah, 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 blah. maybe if I was on air and I like as a jock per se,
Yeah.
like a Lachlan or a Dean or whatever, you go over the line all the time. And I live by the philosophy it's always easier to beg for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. But
Right.
in my
Yeah, for
news
sure.
journalistic career, I never ever shit on somebody to make myself better. Never. I would never do that. You know, I would take you know, you take the Ottawa protests and stuff like that, and there was a jock in Vancouver who is all over social media today because this morning on his morning show, he decided that he needs to tell the people that the convoy that's down there is peaceful. It's, you know, even the people in Vancouver when they were protesting in front of City Hall on Saturday down at the convention center, you know, the media portrays racism. It's driven. They're, you know, shitting on people. They took a 5-second clip from an East Indian gentleman who was down in Ottawa making food for the truckers, and he said, "Yeah, well, I'm terrified because of, you know, the mandates that they're imposing. Whether you agree with them or not doesn't matter. Who cares? I don't care, right? Don't care."
Well, that's exactly what I'm getting at here. It feels like it's so we're going to talk about. It feels like three things here. One is, you know, the polarization of the media and the consumer
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to his political views, especially now when the country has never been more divided in recent history.
Right.
And I'm turning into a fucking old man now. So I've been around the block a little bit. And I'm going to bring up a caption as we'll call it a test case for lack of a better term, and talk about my opinion, and I'll get your guys' feedback on how you interpret it, right?
Absolutely.
Because everything's interpretation.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if you show, well, okay, let's just bring it up. We'll have the conversation. So this isn't the best picture. This is Coots, Alberta. I'm fucking done with the Ottawa thing. I live in Alberta, so I want to talk about Alberta shit. This blockade must end. Alberta Justice Minister condemns highway protest near the U.S. border. Now, I want to break this picture down. It's a shitty picture. I apologize for the viewers. What you're seeing is some fucking asshole. Now, so we're clear, I drive a Chevy Silverado as well.
Mhm.
Okay. This guy, you see that little badge in the bottom right? It's kind of blurred out. But in the bottom right, there's this big silver logo. It's blurry. That means it's a high country edition. That's about a $70,000 truck. And this stunned fuck made that money guaranteed during Alberta boom to be able to afford that truck. Now he's bandwagon hopping, and there's an upside down Canadian flag and upside down Alberta flag. So here's where we're going with this. If you're on the left, you're going to view this as some shithead who's disrespecting the country, is an anti-vaxxer, an anti-masker. You know, he's obstructing the flow of traffic to and from, and he's a general cunt. If you're on the right, you're going to say, good for that guy. Enough's enough. You know, it's irrelevant. It's like what the consumer perceives as the news. Like my biggest fear, and I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead, is that we don't know the accuracy of this. And why am I saying that? I'll show you why I'm saying that. So Tyson Fedor is a reporter for CTV News. This is an excerpt from his tweets from yesterday. And again, there's a 12-hour gap in this. So I am being fucking bipartisan, impartial on this. Down at the bottom, you'll see protesters continue their efforts. Now they've blocked access to the border, according to @RCMP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who do you think pays the RCMP in Alberta? The Alberta government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fast forward 11 hours later, update. There is no blockade at the border. Protesters have been allowing traffic through. Trucks pulled over to the side of the road early this morning are making their way down to the U.S. And all I can see in this picture is RCMP vehicles blocking the road right now. So it's like when you see shit like this from a legitimate reporter, what the fuck are you supposed to believe? How is the consumer of news supposed to understand what's actually happening? And my fear is, and I'll let you guys run with this, I'm gonna say my bit and bounce it, is that we, the people, I hope not everybody, is so fucking tired of manipulated, manufactured misinformation, disinformation, news, that we will just pick the narrative, the verbiage of the side that we support, even if it's fucking not accurate. Right?
100%.
Does that make sense? Like, to me, that's a fucking fear.
Totally.
We'll dive into the accountability piece later, and I'll dive into political manipulation and corporate manipulation of media in a bit. But it's like, if there's no accountability, okay, I am jumping ahead a little bit, on mainstream media, it's because we're just saying, fuck it. We'll just listen to whoever is telling me the story I want to hear on the side that I support. Thoughts, comments?
Panel and go.
Oh, Glassy, you can go first, man. You have
Okay, fuck. Okay, bring that comment back up. Bring the one
I'll
you
bring
just
it
showed.
back up.
The last one.
Hang
Let's
on,
analyze.
man.
Let's break this down.
I don't have a fucking producer, man. So just
I know you need a producer. I told you to
I know.
call me.
We'll have to talk.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, so grip this. Okay, let's dissect this this post, couple posts here. Okay, at the top, protesters continue demonstrating on day 11. Blah 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 blah. Traffic can travel freely in both directions. However, RCMP say the highway is closed at the Coutts border with protesters. Fast forward down to the bottom. Protesters continued their efforts and now blocked access to the border, according to RCMP Alberta. Then, about an hour ago, as this the timeline, I don't know what it is. Obviously, he went down there to check it out. So, what that tells me, and flip back to the first graphic as well. That one with, yeah, thank you. If that's the only fucking photo that you're going to pull up, driving the narrative, that's the photo you have, not the people who are on the side of the highway, according to who pulled themselves over. They want that narrative. They want the upside down Alberta flag. They want the upside down Canadian flag because they want to make these people look like assholes. That's what I get out of it.
And that's exactly what I'm driving at. And look in the background. What's blocking the road?
RCMP.
The fucking the cops.
Yep.
And for the few that actually know me, I don't get along with cops too well, but we'll leave that alone. But that's it. What drives the narrative is the story they want to tell.
That's
Why
right.
is that? Well, it depends on political alignment and the message you're trying to send.
Works for right now. It works for right now. That's
Let
what
me
they
show you
need.
this. So we're diving. Since we're diving in, let's dive deep.
Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Freedom of the press is guaranteed only to those who own one.
True story.
That's a quote from A.J. Liebling, who was an American press critic that worked for the New Yorker, 1904 to 1963. Like that tells you how old that is. It boggles the mind.
Exactly.
How accurate that is. So when I'll give you an example. And I'm picking a middle of the road example so people don't shit all over me. Excuse me. The Globe and Mail, which is a prominent newspaper in this country, and considered by there are websites out there, there are institutions that actually analyze which side of the pendulum that media falls on, whether it be broadcast news, newspapers, whatever. The Globe and Mail is considered to be centric. It's fucking unfortunate that we have to actually measure this.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the Globe and Mail is owned by the David Thompson and his family, who is the richest man in Canada as of last year, with an estimated net worth of $48 billion. So David Thompson and his family own the Globe and Mail. They also have a stake in Bell Telecom. You know, I mean, The minute you have massive corporate ownership of the media, you can't fucking tell me it's not influenced politically. Like that's preposterous to think that way.
Yeah. Hey,
Or
Chris.
their ideals, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, like, I was reading an article in Forbes magazine, and they were saying, and this is more American, but I don't imagine it's much different up here. I think they said like there's 15 billionaires that own all of the mainstream media in the United States, and not just like they own CNN. No, they own CNN and they own Fox. Like they own everything. They own the left, they own the right, they own it all. So,
Yep.
like you said, like if they own it, well, they are going to have somewhat of a say of what is getting broadcasted and what is not.
Well, and that's exactly the concern is that, like, my biggest fear. Let's get into accountability. So if you work for a newspaper or a radio station or a fucking TV station, and Glassy, you can speak to this better than me, but in my thought process is that you work for a company that's a business, and that business unfortunately may potentially impact or influence your ability to deliver the truth.
Yep.
But my biggest fear is going back to what I said earlier. My biggest fear is that we, the consumer of news, are either A, too polarized, so we believe whoever the fuck tells us the story we want to hear, to bolster that on social media, which is another infectious disease I'll talk about later, or we're just so fucking short or deficit attention span thanks to the volume of information we get. Like, let's be honest. I read my news when I have my morning constitutional, and at my age, it's around 9 a.m. every day. I click the news icon and I skim the headlines. Like, if I knew how to do the poll thing for the viewers here, I would ask everybody that's watching this or listening to this, how often do you actually read the whole fucking story?
That's
Or do
it.
you-
Just be informed. That's all I
Right?
tell people. Somebody
Yes.
commented in the comment section. It was Todd a couple minutes ago. Media destroyed Canada. Media didn't destroy Canada. We allowed it to fucking happen.
I agree with that.
100%.
It's their own fault. We don't hold them accountable for the shit they fucking portray. Yeah,
Exactly.
there's the comments to the editor or whatever.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if you sit on the shitter at 9 a.m., like some people I know me do, and just skim the headlines and look for something interesting, and then you get 2/3 of the way down because I have the attention fucking span of a chip bag commercial and don't actually read it, whose fucking fault is it? So all you need is these reporters, which are now repeaters, not reporters, is to fucking spin the headline that's politically aligned with whatever polarized view you have on the topic.
That's right.
And then you buy into that.
That's right.
That's not fucking, that's not reporting. Whose fault is that? That's our fault for not fucking actually challenging the media on the shit they're spinning out. And actually,
no, because we're sitting down at 6 o'clock watching the global news. We're watching CTV at 6, and we're believing every fucking thing. Because here's my point, or here's my side to that. The average person does 5 things. They get up in the morning. They have their dump. They go to work for their 8 hours. Maybe they hate their job. Maybe they hate their life. They go to pay the bills, which go to pay the kids in soccer, go to pay kids in minor hockey, to pay for their truck payment. They keep the cycle going. That's all that they're focused on. So they watch this. And I have a lot of good friends who work in media, CTV, Global, blah, 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 blah. But don't get me started on that. Anyways, the fact that we're allowing it to happen, Todd commented, I believe the media is because of the cause of Canada's chaotic situation. It's sad people are listening to it and believing it. Yes, I form a line down the middle. I ride that road. Okay.
Yeah, because you're independent media. You don't work for some political or some fucking corporate giant. You
have to see both sides of the equation, though, Chris.
Agreed.
That's all I tell people. Just understand what the fucking left is doing, understand what the right is doing, and form your own opinion. That's it. And that's where we get screwed up. because the mass amounts of information that overpump us, and they're doing this to the new generation that inundates us with social media. You go on, oh, this, that, boom, bam, boom. It's so much information that people can't handle it. When I go on
that's even worse.
It
It's the
is.
guys who get their fucking news from Terry on Facebook.
Well, that too.
Right.
Or they're clicking on Global or CTV or whatever, right? That's all they see. So that's all they're being fed. Therefore, they can't take the left side, take the right side approach. All I tell people, and I've gotten into so many arguments, I'm like, yes, I respect your opinion. Absolutely. Sure. It's wrong what they're doing. I fully agree with. It's been 2 fucking years. Let's get on with life. Okay. You can still get a cold or get COVID and pass it on to me if I'm unvaccinated, but I can't do any of the shit in life that you can do. What the fuck is that fair? Fuck that. You know?
No, and I agree 100%.
And I tell people that all the time. I'm just understand what's at play, understand the little things you're giving up.
I honestly believe, and you guys can argue with me.
Now I'm rolled up.
The fault of this fucked up situation with misinformation, disinformation, manipulation by the corporations that own the media, which are impacted or influenced by the political dynamic, is fucking on us, the consumer.
Yes, that's
who
right.
Either lack the moral fortitude to speak up, lack the attention span to actually read what you're seeing and respond to it. And like I've fucking responded to shit in the 2000s and 90s to editorials going, no, that's fucking bullshit.
Yep.
And I actually signed my rank and name. Didn't go over well with the chain of command, neither here nor there. The point is I responded to it. Like if you just let it go and just read the headlines on the shitter and go, yeah, that's fucking bullshit. Yeah, those guys in Ottawa are fucking cunts, or no, they're the greatest guys ever. Whatever. You're letting your political alignment allow the narrative to fucking drive and bolster your opinion, which continues to create a divisive environment due to fucking shitty news that is not based on truth. That's what I'm fucking saying.
Pause. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, yeah, Chris, I agree with you. And I think it almost goes a bit further than that. Like you said, if somebody says something wrong or something wrong happens, it behooves you, it behooves us as citizens of this country to stand up and sensibly say something. I think over the last 40 years, we've kind of seen like a decline in people's understanding of their civic duties, of civics in general. And you kind of see that in the House of Commons now. I mean, people will say, well, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't matter. And I'm thinking, that's ridiculous. It's your civic duty to vote. The Liberal Party of Canada, they were voted in with like 35% of the population, or 35% of the votes. All right. So, but realistically, of Canadians that actually cast a ballot, realistically, they were probably only elected by like 10% of the population, because people are willing to sit back and not vote and assume that this is ridiculous and our system sucks. It could very well suck, but if you don't participate, if enough people don't participate, the people that do participate are going to be steering the ship.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. So am I pissed at the media? Fuck yeah. Do I think it's fucking biased? Do I think it's politically influenced? Do I think it's corporately influenced? Yes, I do. But guess who's at fault for fucking accountability? We are. Because if you're Billy Bob reporter for insert fucking radio station, news station, or fucking newspaper here, and you work for a billionaire ultimately, and no one challenges you, you're taking the path of least fucking resistance, and you're just going to tell the story.
That's what it's about. It's about opening discussion. If I don't like what the fuck you're saying, I'm going to ask you on it. I want to know why. I want to know what your opinion is. Why do you believe that? I want to know that, but people don't do that.
No,
and that's where things
and this is why, and as fucking crazy Unabomber as Morgan looks and appears, because
he looks comfortable to me. I don't know.
Fuck, we all know where he's fucking broadcasting from, and he's the only guy right now, by the way, who has like yellow bars on this control panel over here. He's in a fucking bunker. But at the end of the day, Morgan said this more than once on different podcasts, that he reads multiple news sources on the same story.
Yes.
Rebel News, Al Jazeera, CNN, CTV, fucking whoever,
RT.
try to see where that narrative, where what's centric in that narrative, or is it just, you know, the left and right opinion or spin doctoring of the story to present the narrative they want to feed the consumer who's on side? That's the fucking question.
Hey, Chris. Here's another thing to think about too. Like as soldiers, we're always taught, you know, especially as leaders, to lead by example. So there's times when we get frustrated, even with our own chain of command. But we know in order for the machine to work, we have to figure out a way to work around. But we don't want to be too much of a dissenting voice, you know, in front of our soldiers. Because if you always see that one warrant officer, that one OC who, you know, if he's a wild man, it affects morale, and then next thing you know, his whole company or his whole section or platoon or whatever kind of goes rogue. I mean, right now, people are watching the leader of our country, and like Glassy said earlier, like we need to open discussion, we need to talk about things, and yes, we're going to have differing opinions, but that's what's great about this country. We don't have to agree with each other, but we need to sit down and talk to each other, and at least try to come to some kind of an understanding. And my point I'm getting to is the other day, one of the a member of parliament, I forget who it was from the official opposition, actually asked the prime minister a question, and clearly he didn't like it, so he walked out of the House of Commons. He just walked out.
Can't do that.
So no, you can't do that. But the thing is, if we have like average, ordinary citizens, if they say, well, if the leader of my country can act like this, well, why can't I? And like I said, he's not setting a good example for his citizens.
Well, no, that's what he does, though. He'll wax poetic when it's aligned with the question he wants to answer, but the minute he doesn't, he just fucking throws a tantrum and fucks off, or goes and hides in some cabin somewhere.
Oh my God, he's just like his father.
He is.
Said it out loud. Like, fuck. Who commented? Take each piece with a grain of salt.
So Glassy, I got to ask the question.
Please.
Which father do you think we're talking about here? Fidel, or
can I
the other guy
respectfully decline that question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. If you want to duck that, that's okay.
Yeah, the Cuban crisis. I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I actually heard a joke. Somebody said they went back in time to like December 1971, and they gave Pierre Elliott Trudeau a condom and said, "Here, make sure you use this." Right? But it turns out that Pierre was gay, and his son was born anyway because Castro was the father.
No, that's not true. That's not true. He wasn't gay. He heard the condom was made in Alberta.
That was amazing, by the way.
He heard the condom was made in Alberta and refused to wear the fucking thing. So
there you go.
Accurate.
Whatever. Anyways,
but again, somebody, Positive Mike's commented, take each piece with a grain of salt, avoid Fox at all costs. No, don't avoid Fox. Don't. Hear that side.
No.
You have to be open to everything and understand what's going on and what's at play.
No,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%, Glassy. Like most people listen to me and they'll hear me rant and rave, and they think they're like, oh my God, like this guy is like just a little bit right of Mussolini. But I probably spend more time listening to like CBC than anybody I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, because I'm like, well, what, like.
That's because you're cheap and you're unemployed soon. And it's the only channel you can.
Yeah, afford. I don't want to sit around in an echo chamber. So, but like I said, I'll listen to Al Jazeera, I'll listen to RT and all these things. But when I think of like some of the most left-leaning information I'm going to get in Canada, for me anyway, it seems to come from CBC. So
I honestly think you're onto something right there. It's like people who say, well, don't listen to CNN if you're on the left or right. Don't listen to Fox if you're on the left. No. Listen to all of them.
100%.
Read every paper on the same issue to get an actually fucking informed decision on the topic before you form your own. Because what happens is, here's what we do. We read a bunch of shit, and then we jump on social media and exasperate or perpetuate or amplify the fucking misinformation and problem.
I hate Chris. I disagree with Chris, so I'm going to make my point. No,
that's right.
100%.
Right. So if you want to go on social media for all these fucking clowns that don't read news, or you're that Terry that they get their news from, I don't know. Maybe fucking go to multiple news sources and say, if you have nothing better to do with your fucking life, This is what I actually saw from multiple sources, and here's what I think based on the input from the left and the right, and as best as the information as I could find. But that's not what happens, man. People take a sound bit or they take a headline
That's
and
gospel.
then they retweet it or repost it or whatever the fuck, and they weigh in with their shit and 500 other assholes. The world is fucking devolving in its level of intelligence, man.
Yeah. Like what I guess one of the reasons I'll listen to like people that I probably disagree with is because it's a test for me and it's a test for my ideas. Like are the things that I'm thinking in my head, are they correct? And if I listen to people that oppose me, I'm either A, going to change my mind, or B, I'm going to listen to what they're saying and it's actually going to make my arguments even stronger. So
yeah.
That's why, because if I sit in an echo chamber and I listen to myself,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna sound and I'm gonna say dumb things all the time.
Great point, Morgan. Absolutely,
100%. 100%.
Because that's where you'll get caught up in the rhetoric of either a left or a right wing thought pattern, as well as if you sit inside of that echo chamber. And that's why I love surrounding myself with people that might not agree with everything that I portray or that my thought pattern might possess at that point as well. Absolutely. Great
Never
point.
be afraid to call somebody an asshole or
by the
whatever.
way,
Yeah.
for those of
Yeah,
you watching,
exactly.
Bryce
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
actually in a fucking bathtub right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to take that shit with a grain of salt. And all you people want to each
Dumb
your
and Dumber
money.
tough. That's it. The love, the hard love.
Yeah, it's very too much. And here's the thing: up until say 2 years ago, or outside of a major war, you know, where Canada spent 18 billion in Afghanistan with a fucking not the best outcome, no one really gives a shit what the media says. They don't care. It's the same situation. So you sit on your shitter at 9 a.m., you read the headlines, but it's not a big deal. Well, suddenly you're in a fucking world pandemic and huge decisions are being made that impact your life. And you're approaching the information you're being fed the same way you did when it wasn't a big deal. That is fucking retarded, man.
It's all about driving the narrative, Chris. That's what it's all about.
Driving the narrative is exactly what it is, right?
I mean, what works today?
God.
People don't get that. And it's like, that's all I tell people. Again, we circle back. Just be fucking informed of what the fuck is going on. Like, you can sit on the shitter all you want, but if you're only going to read this and not form an opinion or have an opinion based on that, you're an uneducated, stupid sow. I'm sorry. You have to understand both sides of the equation. Understand the things that are at work. Understand the things that are at play. I've seen videos, and I get what they're doing in Ottawa. Sure, okay, I'll take that middle road. The way the media has portrayed the whole thing has been nothing short of a farce. And granted, I will give them this Saturday, the first Saturday when all this bullshit started, because of the National War Memorial. I agree with that in a minute. 100%. You lost my objective. I got into an argument with an anti-vaxxer here just recently, who's a friend of mine. Well, maybe not a friend anymore. And she says, yeah, we're going to go and protest our freedoms and blah, blah, blah. It's like, do you have the freedom to go down to your fucking protest? Like, you think everything's been taken away? Nothing's been taken away. They've, yes, instituted vaccine mandates and you got to be vaccinated, which is, get me on another topic. But
yeah,
you lost me when you went to the fucking hospital. You lost me. You lost the objective with me, right? I get it. Go stand at the busiest intersection in downtown Vancouver and clog up traffic at 11 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Go sit on the Trans-Canada Highway, blockade the road, 401, whatever, you know, Highway 2 in Alberta, like between, is it 2? Yeah, between Edmonton and Calgary.
Yeah.
Go blockade that absolutely all day long because we have that freedom to be able to do that. Don't fucking go stand in front of a hospital where somebody's up on the 4th floor, or maybe their family's dying of cancer, and you're out there saying the healthcare system sucks. We're all fucking sheep. You're not. Fuck you. You lost my vote. Sorry.
Yeah, it's showing that some of these demonstrators are either being led to a certain narrative,
Yes.
or that nobody is actually using the collective mind. It just becomes mob mentality at that point, where you get more than 3 or 4 humans together and they start to, it's Neanderthal behavior for whatever reason.
Yep.
It's incredibly frustrating when it repeats itself over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Not
This is a
saying
great,
that
this is a
That
great comment.
comment is
Right?
spot on.
This
That's
is a
all
fucking
we want.
awesome comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We 3AB, we care, you care what journalists have to say because it's history tomorrow. We all want it to be credible and accurate. That is the best fucking comment tonight.
Yep.
Without a doubt. Thank you for that comment. I really appreciate that.
And we fully
yeah.
agree with that. I've been in the
I do 100%. Just give me non-biased, accurate journalism. I know we could talk for 16 hours, and I know you don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump into the next thing, because I think we're all aligned here that yes, the media is skewed. Yes, it's incumbent upon us as consumers of media to be more vocal and hold media, mainstream media specifically, more accountable. And yes, we need to be more responsible with our shit on social media, especially during trying times like this that are impacting people's fucking lives.
Who do you think
So-
drives that narrative?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I've recently done a little bit of an experiment on Facebook. I was sitting around bored, and like everybody else, and I decided to expose some information that I had gathered on what some of the Freedom Convoy was involved with at the start, and how some of the characters were a little bit shady. But I put it in such a way that Facebook's traction and the narrative, it picked it up quick, and it went into 1,000 comments in a couple days, and there was people that demonstrated exactly what I was trying to prove a point to. I didn't say anything about the mandates. I didn't say anything about vaccines. All I wanted to show was there was a couple people at the top of the game who have tried to play this game before, or two have they've been in this rhetoric where some of those people involved have not always been the best of people, and that's just kind of what I wanted to put out to some of the people. And some of those comments, some of the people just laid into it. I lost over 150 friends and followers. It's actually unreal how many people took it to where some people actually
And
reached
you're the
out to
bad
me
guy.
and said that I was picking fights.
Yep.
It's unreal.
Hey, listen,
It's unreal.
Chris,
here's
can you
the
cut me
tip.
out for a sec? Can you cut me out for a sec? I need to go pee.
Yeah,
Hold
buddy.
that thought.
Come back, because you're going to do Ask an Army Guy, and then I'm going to cut you loose.
All right, sounds good.
He'll be back. Bryce, keep going, man.
It's kind of funny. Even
So
what I wanted to do.
You lost all these followers on Facebook because they
Yep.
weren't aligned with what you were saying.
Or they were just against completely what I was trying to expose. Some of the biggest excuses that I had seen on social media was that everybody has a bad history and some people need to be forgiven and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when that behavior was like less than 6 months ago, is that behavior that can be forgiven so easily?
You mean like our prime minister?
Oh man, I'm not talking about the prime minister. You know that he's
No.
a shit show. He's a pill popper. The people within his
he's got
circle
all
have
these
said so.
fucking,
He's
all these liberal
unstable.
MPs coming out shitting all over him now.
Yeah, good.
Which, well, it's great.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, yeah, but look what happens. The last two people that tried to expose how much of a whiner he was and a misogynistic racist.
They got shit canned short, fast.
Yeah,
quick, fast,
and they
in a
happen to
hurry.
be women in his cabinet and in large positions that were just like, "That's it, get the fuck out. You're not listening
he gets
anymore."
that shit from his old man Fidel. I'm telling you right now, man. Fuck around.
Well, yeah, and then he was raised by the other one as well, too, right? So that the Trudeau influence,
Absolutely.
and the
Fuck
trust
West,
fund.
and
that he lives
I'm
off
a
and is
tyrant. Where
exposed.
the fuck do you get that genetics from? Anyway, fuck, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is it's just like fuck me.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
see your
if you're
comment,
watching this, if you're listening to this, please don't just skim the fucking headline and allow it to influence your political side.
Absolutely.
But and if
fucking
you are
read
somebody
it.
like me, yeah, and if you're somebody like me that is, you lean to the right a little bit or a lot. Like, I mean, don't just listen to, like uh, just don't just listen to right leaning media. I mean, absolutely, still watch right leaning media. I'm not telling you not to do that, but make sure that for every right leaning article or every right leaning news program that you watch a left leaning one as well. Read a left leaning article. Try to find something,
Yeah.
and because like I said, it's you're either going to change your mind or it's going to make your argument like that much better later on down the road when somebody questions you.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you're also then
how much
fully
time you got
informed.
left? Because you're already late.
I gotta go. I'm looking at the clock here. Yeah, go. I got 2 minutes. I'm just logging into
Yeah,
the
we're gonna give you
studio
2
right
minutes. We're gonna do a quick segment. You got one question you can ask. Segment's called Ask an Army Guy.
now. Yeah, love the medal cup.
If you have a question, bounce it out. We'll answer it, and then you got to go. I get it.
There's actually a couple, and actually I want to come back on. I have a couple. I'd like.
We can park it. We can park it for another day. Not a problem.
I want to know, given what's going on between Ottawa, between Vancouver, between Edmonton or Coots, Saskatchewan lifting theirs. How do you guys take that as vets, knowing that you went over from either your tours or maybe your dad's tours previous and stuff like that? How the fuck does a vet actually sit back and go, are their freedoms really lost? How do you take that as a person who served?
I'll go first. Fucking you take too long. I'm gonna take it down the middle road.
You take too fucking long.
I'm gonna take down the middle fucking road, and I'm not being I'm not being neutral. This is exactly the way I think. Understand that everything we did in our career in the military, you are simply two things: an extension of political will and the practical application of foreign or domestic policy. Meaning you have a job to do. Whether you support the government and its decisions or you don't, whether you vote left or right or in the middle is irrelevant. You wear that fucking uniform, you go do what that government sends you to go do, and that's what you do. And I'll leave it at that and let my cohorts have the final words.
All right, I'm going first this time.
Of course you are.
So, yeah. No, I agree with what Chris said. And even with regards to people dancing on the War Memorial and those upside down flags, things like that, like me, if the army in this country was a religion, I've said it before, I was like, you're looking at the true believer. I'm a fucking zealot, with regards to the army and this country. However, I believe strongly in freedom in the truest sense. And yeah, with freedom, you got to deal with some idiots sometime. Those upside down flags, do I agree with it? No, but I believe in that person's right to express their feelings, especially with the current political climate. Same thing, a guy danced on the tomb of the unknown soldier. Hey, when you got that many people somewhere, you know what? Stupid shit's bound to happen. I seen somebody taking pictures from the top of the unknown soldier when I was going through Ottawa this summer past. They had no fucking idea what it was. Obviously, I went up and I politely let them know what it was. But I don't know. I'm and with all do I think that some of our freedoms have been eroded? I'm not going to say lost completely yet, but eroded. Absolutely. And if you know anything about my background, like I said, I chose not to be vaccinated, so I'm potentially going to be dishonorably discharged after 22 years of good service. And
that's bullshit. Army. That's bullshit. That's
total bullshit. Hey, he's lucky. If I was still in, I would have charged his ass under fucking 226 or whatever the fuck.
126, 127, 129.
And Chris, I've said it to you before. If you were to do that, you'd be 100% right. But the powers that be are not even following their own protocols.
No, they're
just going to kick
waffling.
me out without even being charged. So you right now, by saying that you're going to charge my ass, are actually a better leader and a better example than they are.
Yeah. That's what they're supposed to do, but they don't do that anymore. They don't know what the fuck to do, but that's a whole other conversation we've already had.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Bryce.
Bryce, you're up.
Now, Yeah, that's why I'm lighting this joint, because at the same time that everybody, I love
Sorry,
Morgan.
Morgan.
I love you, dude. And I would have been the same way in the military. I think by the end of my career, I was thinking outside of the box. I like to look at the bigger picture, though, and depending on how much you want to look at the science of things and how bad all of this COVID actually is, there was a worldwide pandemic that they were dealing with, and they didn't know. People were dropping dead in China on the streets, so they didn't know how bad it was going to get once it got to North America. So did they lock us down tight and maybe take away some of our, I don't want to say freedoms, our rights? No.
Right.
I think they were actually looking after us to an extent.
Yeah.
When it came down to like mask mandates where you had to wear a mask into a restaurant just so you could sit down, or now onto the whole big one where the QR code came into effect and you became two different citizens when A, you didn't believe in vaccination, or two, you decided to choose that vaccination, right? And I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I have family members that have, and I have family members that haven't. My own offspring have chosen to take that vaccination route.
Sure.
And there's others that my own wife has decided that she was going to wait for that 2-year mark. And now look where the whole thing is circling around. Mandates are starting to drop. And I don't want to say that the truck drivers forced that mandate, because those mandates were being dropped simultaneous as that was being happening. There was already discussions in BC. The government in Saskatchewan had already gone forth and put into both sides of the media that they were already to drop the mandates. So you can see what the trucker freedom actually is, or the
100%.
trucker movement actually
Yeah,
is.
but this just
Like
goes
that
back to
article
the
that I
whole
sent
media
you
thing.
earlier, Chris,
Yeah,
was that the CEO of the largest trucking company in the world said that there has been zero effect because of the COVID or the COVID lockdown restrictions.
Supply chains.
At the same time, if you were a good dispatcher of any kind of trucker of any level, and coming from a trucker, both military and civilian, your dispatcher knows your troops. Your dispatcher knows your truckers and their skills, and that also includes, hey, I've got somebody who can't go to the States because of mandates. Fine, keep them local. Put them on the other run. Totally okay. Let them go home at 5 o'clock. You let somebody else clock in and take the extra kilometers going into, or the extra miles going into the States, and make that extra paycheck. There's young guys, there's young girls, and there's older guys that are willing to do that kind of stuff.
100%.
They don't care what kind of flu shot or any kind of mandates. They've been doing that for 20 years. Look at those Nexus cards and those Nexus standards that they had for a while. They were basically chip implants that these truckers had to carry around, so that way when they got to certain kilometers within that border range, they already had the green light to go, because they knew everything about them. Criminal record came up, their driver's mandate, all their electric standard stuff for their for all their trucker diary stuff, all the hours that you have to take, all that kind of stuff was already shown, and those guys were just driving through the next lane. This is 10 years ago.
100%.
So for us to think that mandates have disappeared or freedoms have been taken from us, these are the same people that are either showing, it's either temper tantrums, or there's a narrative that's actually being driven.
Now,
and
with
there's
a grain
actually
of salt, you're listening to a man with absolute conviction on the issue, who's also sitting in a bathtub smoking a joint with purple hair.
I wish I had that joint there, Bryce. I wish I had that
hair,
joint,
my friend.
You're in Vancouver, man. Okay, Glassy's got to go. I respect
I
your
got to
time.
bounce.
Thank you very
Greg's
much.
freaking out. So,
ladies and gentlemen, check
can
out
we do
Glassy.
this again? Let's do this
yes,
again.
we're doing it again. We'll find the time. I appreciate you having you on. Check him out. He is Glassy's a radio guy, a freelance guy. He is the producer of the Trippin' with Bonzi podcast, which he has to jump on now. Bonzi's going to be pissed at me.
I'm doing it right now, actually, as we're talking.
Okay, and you can find him at Sean GL
on Twitter.
Yeah. So
thanks for having me,
very much, brother.
Let me know. I'm in, guys.
Yeah, man.
Warren, Bryce, pleasure.
Okay, right on. You too.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Ciao, bud.
Ciao.
There you go. Fuck, that was good, man. That was a fast hour, boys. I got to tell
That
you.
was-
Yeah, hour and
That was
10,
fast, yeah.
So, last rounds. Bathtub guy. Keep it
Man.
fucking brief. I got to piss like a banshee here.
Yeah. Well, then put us up where we share it. It's Morgan and I, because I've got nothing.
No, like I said, the only thing I'll say, Bryce, about you, like with regards like freedom's kind of being, I'm not going to say taken away, but eroded. Like I said, I cannot get on an airplane right now and go visit my family if they were dying in Newfoundland.
Yeah, but there's no reason why you couldn't get in a vehicle and drive. I know it's 5 days worth of travel or 7 days worth of travel.
It is though, right? So like,
yeah.
But now like we have two classes of citizens. Like you can fly, like
all right, you fuckers
and I
keep
can't.
talking.
All right, so.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Right?
No, I totally see it. That's why I said it with that QR code. It basically created, like I've seen on social media, where parents are not allowed to go and participate with their kids at a hockey game or a basketball game or a sporting event because the parent doesn't believe in the vaccine, and the facility hosting the sporting event requires a QR code to enter. So the kid's going to enter because they're all vaccinated up and they've gone to their school and it's been no problem. But now you're creating that divide even with a parent level. Absolutely, dude. No,
because if the media and our government hadn't politicized it as much, and it had been left to like, you know what, like even if they're like, you know what, it's a vaccinations like every other vaccination, get it if you want. I guarantee you, we probably would have achieved similar levels of vaccination.
Oh, you know what, dude? Like I've heard echo from a lot of places where if they would have actually not been, if it wasn't mandated, and like the cannabis industry, it's lacking education and public education.
Yeah.
Where it's if somebody had an open question and they had to ask about what is an mRNA and what the hell is, or what is a vaccine, because my family that's raised me is completely against it, and I don't know what so I want to know what I'm going to put into my body.
Absolutely, and that's your right.
And there's people that as soon as they know that this science has been worked on for 20 years to get where we're at, it hasn't been invented overnight. This is not something that rushed in and came
quick piss and you're back on the weed, man.
Yeah,
no, but I guess we're talking vaccines, my friend.
Yeah, and just like, but there's other things like they asked Pfizer, they're like, okay, like can you release your data? And they're like, we'll answer those questions in 75 years.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, that'd be like, you say to your wife, like, I'm pretty sure, like, have you been cheating on me? I'll answer that question in 75 years. we're all going to be fucking dead then anyway, and it's going to be a fucking moot point.
This is what happens when you leave the fucking kids unattended.
Yeah. But anyway, but I digress. That was just like one of those things. Like I said, I'm not saying freedoms have been totally taken away, but they're some of them have been eroded, and they're on the brink.
I'll tell you what, Morgan, to get back to my fucking original point, I used a word at the beginning of the show and on the teaser. It's called manipulated.
Yep.
We're being, and I believe this, and I don't want to sound like some right-wing shithead because I'm not. I'm very much.
We're being manipulated. We're being manipulated right and left.
That's my point. For a guy that wears camouflage and drives a pickup truck and works in oil and gas in Alberta, I am still centric. I'm smart enough to know when I'm being fucking manipulated because I spent 24 years in an organization that manipulates guys to do what they needed to do, and I supported that.
Man, there's already articles out there where there's a general who with psyops experience and who led experiments for human intelligence reasons and human intelligence gathering to see how people would react on civilians during COVID.
So we talked about that like 2 months ago.
Exactly.
Like,
so if you're feeling manipulated,
sanctioned by the government,
it's because you are being manipulated.
100%. The fuck they're from. They said, "Fuck it, we're gonna run our own op," and they did. It's like right out of a movie, man.
Yeah. And that, boys, I don't care what you say, that's wrong. Like that is so wrong on so many levels.
Your balls, that's wrong. Like, who the fuck is that guy? That guy should be in jail. You're just gonna run your own psyops campaign as a test bed for fucking future international or domestic operations without the fucking approval of the government, whether we like this government or not. Bullshit, man. You cannot be fucking going rogue and doing that. And
so what was the point of it? We should be questioning this. Well, there should be something questioned on this, where on a different level of, we should be asking the military, we should be asking the government, like, what was the reason? Like, they might be able to tell us in 100 years and when it becomes unclassified, but there should be questions asked, like, why was there mind manipulating, mind altering programs, stuff over the radio, stuff on local news is put out, like, this was full on manipulation on the
You got
civilian
red
pattern.
hair and you're in a bathtub right now. You weren't like that 6 months
Yeah.
ago.
I
Well,
think they're
exactly right.
Oh.
The only thing I'm missing now from my bathtub is my tinfoil hat, man.
Hey, Bryce, I agree with what you're saying. And so back to one of my points I said earlier about people's civic duties. Like the politicians in Ottawa, just like the our officers and senior NCOs, like, no news is good news. How many people that were pissed when they read that picked up the phone, got on their computer, or wrote a goddamn letter by hand and sent it to their member of parliament and said, this isn't right. And then, moreover, you talked to your mother, your father, your siblings, your friends, and said, hey, do you know this has happened? And if you do, or if you disagree with it, you think this is wrong, you should take 5 minutes out of your day to send three sentences to your member of parliament and say, hey, this is wrong.
But the thing is, it was a minor fucking byline in the media because it wasn't popular at the time.
Yeah.
Which goes
Should be
back to the
stirred
point
up
of this
again.
the point of this whole pod is how the media selects what's popular, that makes them money because they work for a corporate machine. So
Yep.
when I remember seeing that and I went, holy fuck, this should be huge news.
Absolutely.
The Canadian Forces is conducting fucking psyops operations outside of an approved program inside of Canada as a test bed to use later on.
Yeah.
And no one checked that.
So civilians
Nothing
are now
happened.
subject
Are
to
you
it.
fucking kidding me?
But
I lost
yeah,
my shit. And civvies that I know didn't even know it was a thing. I'm like, man, that's a fucking problem. That's why
Yeah.
you need to read the fucking news.
Yeah, because they by law have to put it out there that they've done it. And obviously this isn't the first time they've done it, because they had a general
So that's the
sit
thing.
there and say it.
How long has this been going on? PsyOps isn't exactly a new fucking thing. We've been doing
1960s.
PsyOps, right?
Yeah.
It's evolved in how it looks.
Now they're just
This is a great segue, by the
admitting
way.
it.
We're going into overtime for all you people watching.
Okay.
PsyOps is not new in the CF or in any other fucking military, no matter which side of the line it's on. It's a huge part of fucking modern warfare and historical warfare. In an effort to demoralize the enemy and also influence the non-combatant population.
Yeah.
In the AO area of
Parts of the
operations you're
mines.
working in to what's the word I'm looking for? To fall in line with what the fuck you're trying to do.
Yeah,
And
you're
then
winning
these
their
fucking
hearts and
guys,
minds.
these guys go and do it on Canadian soil last year. Was it last year? It was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
years ago.
Well, during
No,
the
2 years
pandemic,
ago,
yeah.
in 2020,
Mm.
right when COVID kicked off. These fucking clowns basically seized an opportunity. Okay, got it. A+ for fucking effort. To seize the moment and decide, oh, you know what? Let's try out some PsyOps shit on the Canadian population. And even though we're not approved by the government to do it, we'll just fucking do it anyway. Beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. And it barely made a headline. I picked it up, on my last push on the toilet or whatever it may have been, and read it end to end. Lost my mind. We talked about it, and you never heard about it again. Isn't that a fucking big deal to the average Canadian consumer of media? It fucking should be. It should
Absolutely, it should be. And there should be civilians that are screaming at this point on both sides, going, "This is not right. This is against some sort of freedom." Like there has to be some sort of kickback to this, man. I mean, if a general officer who's able to sit there and say, "Oh, by the way, this is what I've been doing for the last little bit," with zero repercussion. Yeah. Well,
that's exactly what it is, Ryan.
Man, we should be screaming this as veterans. We should be screaming this into the sky, and everybody should be trying to hear us. We're no longer the Chicken Littles. We're no longer the guy that's saying that the earth is
the world attention span, thanks to the internet and how fast information moves, has devolved to the level of a fucking goldfish swimming around seeing a sandcastle. Oh, look, it's a
Oh,
sandcastle. Oh, look,
But,
it's a
but
sandcastle.
people, you forget
And it's
people
like,
have had
what's
so
the
many.
latest? What's the sandcastle they want to know about that day? Right? So fuck, there's no chance they're gonna
It's
they're
15
gonna
minutes.
focus on a
Yeah.
story like that, because the next
Jesus.
day we're talking about Hillbilly Bob blockading fucking Parliament Hill or whatever
Yeah.
the fuck the new story is. It's fucking mind
but-
numbing.
Chris, pull up that comment from Ryan Perry. He knows some inside stuff.
Which one?
But
The-
hey,
the-
hey guys, as you're pulling that up though, I mean, realistically, the media has been kind of conditioning
No, the
us
one
for
before that.
probably like 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That guy got a commendation for that shit.
So the
Like I said,
PSYOPs warrant officer got a commendation for what he did during that time frame.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me from the inside of that.
All right, Ryan. So Ryan, I know you're not on to speak to this, but I want you to type this in. Where did you get that from?
That's some serious information. If they're giving out
Right? 'Cause
commendations
that's the
and they're
whole
awarding
crux
each
of
other
this
for what
fucking
they've
pod
done.
is information.
yeah, like, and
Holy
what kind
bananas, man.
and what kind of
I
commendation?
want to
like, was it-
know where you got that, because if it's from Terry on Facebook,
Man, he
fuck
is
off.
literally no. Ryan's also just exiting the military, so he's just like
Got
Morgan,
that.
where
I
he's
know
got
that we've been
active
talking.
duties.
That's why this is the thing. I
Yeah.
want credible source information
Yeah,
to provide people that I know with that are watching this thing to fucking
Absolutely.
know that we
Yeah.
know we're not talking out of our ass. I don't want to be those fucking stupid cunts regurgitating shit that we read in a byline on the shitter. It's
Yeah.
got to be, tell me you
No,
know
well,
Well,
what you're talking
and to
about.
Rob's point as
Show
well.
me you have credible source information to say that's a fact.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just fucking bullshit. I'm not saying Ryan's full of shit. I'm saying if you're going to say that, tell me where you got that info from.
Well, one thing I was just going to say there was like I said, the media's kind of been conditioning all of us for like 30, 40 years, to believe certain things. And what I mean by that is like when that news line hit the media,
Boom.
Anyway, like I was saying, like I said, we've been conditioned, and Christ, shit, you made me lose my train of thought.
Absolutely,
Chris.
we've been in
You're
conditions.
doing great.
That's unreal.
Yeah, but
Distract the masses.
yeah, there you go, Christ. But yeah, so when those news lines hit the media about those information operations that have been happening like within our own borders, like I brought that up to a few of my a few friends of mine, family members, and they looked at me like I looked like you're a tinfoil hat guy, and I'm like
Crazy
I know,
army guy.
they're like you're a crazy. I'm like I know what psychological warfare is. Like we were a part of these operations in Afghanistan, and I not that I dumbed it down, but I kind of explained it to him, like how we did it. And essentially, the same thing was done here in Canada to track our movement, to see what we were doing. And I was like, this is wrong on so many levels. And people are like,
Absolutely.
essentially, like I am slowly turning into Bob Lee Swagger from fucking Shooter. I'm ready to like move to the hills, and people think I'm a nut. But I'm like, it was in the news. This was mainstream media reported it. I
Welcome
was
to
like,
being a veteran, my friend, where everybody's questioning you.
but anybody that I mentioned it to, they're like, it's not that big a deal. And I'm like, boys, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's a huge deal.
If
People
we're
don't
allowing
care.
this to happen in our own borders, this is opening up a whole bunch of different things for the military. And I don't plan on being a fucking rat scientist experiment once I'm out of the military, having to deal with the shit that the military already caused me. Like, I don't need to be questioning shit, whether they're playing outside of my window when they probably are now.
Well,
Like-
yeah, you got red hair and you're in a fucking bathtub, bro.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean, though, man? Like, if this is the kind of stuff that they're owning up to now, maybe there's guys that were running to the hills screaming that there was things going on 2-3 years ago. People were calling them crazy. Oh, you're just a crazy army guy. What do you know? We should go check on those guys living in the woods now, because all this stuff. Yeah. Looking at that comment to Ryan. Absolutely.
Oh, fuck. Go on. I want to hear this shit.
Okay. So not only is it,
Ryan, you're coming on the pod next week, buddy.
yeah, 17 Wing is not
Voluntold.
only the home of the Air Force, right? But they also have the Air Division there. So you have several like I think there's 6 or 7 generals on the Canadian side that sit in the Glass Palace that's on 17 Wing. Plus you have US Air Force staff members there. The politics that happens on that base, let alone what goes on the sergeant and below level of things, the debauchery that goes on in between, man, it's a super base that should be documented. It's unreal. It's unreal.
Well, it's no different than fucking having what used to be LFWA headquarters, which is now what, 3 div or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, 3 div.
Across the street from one brigade.
Yep.
Like how much fucking inbreeding is there?
Yeah.
And I could speak
Absolutely.
personally of having worked there at what was then an area, which is now div, as to how many fucking drug deals and shit were being made between one brigade commanders and area commander at the time.
Oh yeah.
And it was fine. It was in the best interest, but it's like, it's not the way you should be doing things.
My actual drug dealer when I was in was part of my chain of command at all levels.
Your
Both in
actual
Edmonton-
drug dealer. I was using it metaphorically.
Yeah.
speaking.
No, I'm saying that's
You're
how
like, well, no, I
fucking
actually
bad.
have this guy
That's how
who's my
bad
drug
Winnipeg
dealer.
was, man. There was people in place that always had specific drugs that were dealing right across the base, and there was times
he a
where they were
PSYOPs
involved
guy?
with the MPs.
Was he a psyops guy?
Yeah,
That'd be amazing if he would. It'd be a sweet story.
yeah.
Should we get a? We should get a military policeman on this show? No, never gonna happen.
Yeah. There was engineers, there was MSC ops, there was
Excuse me.
MPs. I know there was officer level stuff too that was going on. Man, as a VIP driver, there's things that you're not supposed to see or observe because you're supposed to be a shadow. You're supposed to be in the background when you're just watching an officer and bringing him back home. But then you're stopping at a motel and you're meeting his girlfriend or his boyfriend. You're meeting all of the side connections and the political things that they're going to stop and do. The mayor's office is usually the first stop on any VIP level of things. They're
Fuck,
going
I
to
love it when
schmooze
these
with the people that need
conversations
to.
just go left wheel on the back end.
Yeah, there's absolutely all sorts of things you can expose when it comes to service. It's unreal, man.
Well, anyway, fuck. I think we nailed the salient points tonight.
Agreed.
As best we could. Yeah, let's wrap this shit up.
Oh, Chris, one last thought.
Absolutely, go fucking go
As
fire
to-
first back,
and
buddy.
he-
Give her.
so we did left wheel, right wheel, and not that I ever want my own podcast because I'm not a social media guy, but I was thinking, I was like, I got a sweet name if I did have a podcast, it'd be fucking talking shit with the Blue Rocketeer, right? Fucking.
I like it. I don't know. I could produce it, man.
It'd be
Yeah.
it'd be like the plot of my entire podcast would be like the plot from Seinfeld. It'd just be nothing, right?
Oh, dude, that
Yeah.
actually you could
It'd
go
be
on
me,
30-second rants. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, it'd just be me ranting and raving at fucking people.
Yeah, it'd be at 2:00. It would be 2 a.m.
No,
kind of airtime.
I'm
man.
down
There's
with
nothing
this.
wrong
Like at
with
some
that.
point, I'm not going to be able to host this, so one of you two fuckers are going to have to do it, right? Because I'm going to be busy with. I have a job now. Like I can't just live in fantasy world. I have to go back to work. But
Oh, that's where we'll bring in another vet and we'll create that third panel. We'll bring Ryan in, we'll bring Todd in, we'll bring whoever else is watching.
as long as you
Yeah.
don't drive my already fucking marginal ratings down, we're golden.
Pretty sure that's easy. We just won't say the fuck word, or we won't say the cunt word.
Listen, I got like 10 grand invested into all this shit. And my math says it's going to take me 88 years to recoup my fucking losses.
That's okay.
Anyway,
Spotify or somebody will pick you up
Cool.
soon.
she's a wrap for tonight. Thank you guys
All right.
for your time. Thank you for all of you guys that tuned in. I'm going to punch you fuckers out and bid my farewells to everybody. So thank you again, Mr. Bryce Hooper, Mr. Morgan Warren, my fucking olive drab hooligans to be continued. And you guys are out. Wow, what a show. We're all over the fucking board. I want to thank Glassy for tuning in. Thank you guys for fucking watching tonight. Once again, bear with me. I'm still fucking around with this shit. Fire for Facts brought to you by deanblundell.com. deanblundell.com, Canada's largest digital source for sports, news, podcasts, what have you. Positive Mike's Brewing Company, Wicked Beer, Mr. Hooper Inc. You want to learn about weed, mushrooms is an alternative to shitty ass medicine that rots your guts, wrecks your liver, makes you an addict. Check out Mr. Hooper. And my good friends Jeff None, Lakeside Farmstead, cheese, dairy products, beer, Not beer. Fuck, sorry. I'm thinking about positive mics right now, and I'm drinking a beer. Jeff does not make beer yet, but fuck, I think he should. Feels like he should. Anyway, thank you guys so much for your time. We'll be back next week to talk about some more whimsical shit. And until then, everybody have a good one.